Topic 3, Sutra 3, Shastra Unit Karanam. Scripture is the basis of knowledge. Upakrama Upasamhara Abhyaso Purvata Phalam Arthavado Upapatti Cha Lingam Tattvarya Nirnaye. In understanding the meaning of a particular passage, the means are Upakrama, beginning, Upasamhara, conclusion, Abhyasa, repetition, Apurvata, typing mistake, uniqueness, Phalam, fruit, Arthavada, praise, and Upapatti, proof. This is a quote from Bharat Samhita, which itself is quoted by Madhvacharya in his Brahma Sutra commentary. 1.1.47. Okay. Upasamhara, Abhyaso, Upapata, Phalam, Arthavado, Upapatti, Lingam Tattvarya Nirnaye iti Yani Shastra Tattvarya Nirnaye Trini Shaknidhani Lingani Smritani Tani Api Dvaite Vilokhyante. There are 6 signs that ascertain the import of a scripture, and they're noted in the Smriti. This is Smriti list. All of them point towards duality. Using these 6 methods, the conclusion is that the Jiva and the Lord are different. Upakrameti Brihad Samhita Vakyam. The statement beginning with Upakrama is from the Brihad Samhita. Shadvidhani Lingani. There are 6 signs. Upakrama Upasamhara Yoho Aikarupyamiti Shaddeva Lingani. Upakrama and Upasamhara are taken together, and therefore, in total, there are not 7 signs, there are 6 signs. Abhyasaha Visheshaha Punaruktihi. Abhyasa, here repetition, refers to a repetition that is not special. The idea is that there may be particular specific reasons for repeating. Now, this is not like that. Arthavadaha Prashamsa. Arthavada means praise. Okay, then takes into consideration this verse. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sacharyam Samana Pracham Parishashvajate Tayodanya Pipalam Swadvatyanash Amyo Vicha Chaka Shiti Samane Vrikshe Purushoni Magno Nishayasho Chatuhyamana Jishtam Yada Pashyanyamesham Masya Mahimana Iti Vita Shokaha Atahi. So, for instance, Shveta Shvataraha. There's a statement in the Shveta Shvatara Upanishad. Dva Suparna Iti Upakramaha. Okay, the verse talks about 2 birds which are sitting together. They're 2 friends. And they equally sitting on a tree. Amongst them, one eats the pipala fruit. The other does not eat. And by not eating, it is shining. And the second verse means within the same tree, there is one Purusha who is immersed due to the absence of his Lord. He is deluded and is in lamentation. When he sees the other one, who is the Lord, then he realizes his glory and becomes devoid of sorrow. So regarding this, Dwa Suparna comes at the beginning. Dwa Suparna means two words that comes in the beginning. Anyam Isham iti upasamharaha. Towards the end, you find Anyam Isham. The Lord is different. That is appearing here at the conclusion of this passage. Tayoho Anyaha Anashnan Anyaha Anyam Isham iti abhyasam. Here, Anya is brought out. Anya means the other one. Amongst them, Anya comes here. Anashnan, Anya, Vichaka, she, the. Then again, Anya appears here. When he sees the other one, Isha, the Lord. So three times it talks about the other one, the other one, the other one. This one, the other, this one, the other one. That is the idea. So this is an instance of abhyasa. The other person does not eat. This is a point which is being repeated. Ishvara sambandhi bhedasya shastramina apraptehe apurvata. Then what is the unique factor here? What is the uniqueness here? The uniqueness is that without scripture, the difference between the Lord and the Jiva could not be known. Then Vita Shokaha Dhyani Phalam. Vita Shoka is the Phalam, result. So when he sees the other one, the Lord, then he becomes freed from distress. That is the result. That is a good result. Asya Mahimanam eti iti arthavadah. When he sees the Lord's greatness, here you find an element of praise here, arthavadah. Okay. Anyaha anashna iti upapattihi cha. And there's some logical reasoning here also. When he sees the other one not eating, the other does not eat, you have here an instance of logical proof, upapatti. Some logical reasoning comes out. Cha ityevam anyatra api etani murgyani. One can find other examples elsewhere. In other places also, one can search out for similar 6 signs that indicate the purport of a passage. Upapattihi, Vede Yuktihi. Upapatti, the logical proof or the logical reason, is that which argues for the difference between Brahman and the Jiva. Such a Bhunjanasya api malinyam, Abhunjanasya api juktihi, iti evam rupa. So what is the logic that is conveyed here? The one who is eating the fruit is contaminated by distress. And the one who is not eating is shining. No, arthavadasya swarthe pramanyam na iti chet. Now, if one were to argue that praise by itself cannot be considered to be an authoritative indicator of anything. So the response to that is no, that's not the case. Tridha hi arthavada. There are 3 types of arthavada, 3 types of praise. Virodhe gunavadasya anuvado vadharite bhutarthavadas tadbhana arthavadas ridha mataha. This is all very commonly known in Purva Mimamsa. In Puru Mimamsa, the techniques that are utilized for understanding how to perform sacrifices in order to attain dharma tagama are utilized in Brahma Mimamsa to help us understand the true nature of Brahman. The techniques are the same. These techniques are learned at an earlier stage when one is studying Purva Mimamsa before coming to Brahma Mimamsa. So therefore, these discussions take place here also. So Arthavada is of three types. One is Gunavada. One is Anuvada. Then the third is Bhutarthavada. Gunavada talks about praise of something on the basis of some great quality. This is applied whenever there are conflicting presentations, then Gunavada is taken into consideration. Standard example, Adityo Yudho Yajamana Prastarayati Gunavadaha. Take for instance the idea that the sun is a pillar. That means the pillar refers to the sacrificial pillar. The sacrificial pillar looks as glorious as the sun. That is, in other words, the sacrificial pillar should be tall. It should be a tall object. It should be clean, and so on. It should be nicely done. Similarly, Yajamanaha Prastaraha, the Yajamana, which refers to the sponsor, he is a rock. He is as steady as a rock. So that is another instance of Gunavada. Agnirhimasya bheshajam iti anuvadaha. The second type of Arthavada is called Anuvada, which simply repeats something that is known from other sources. Other sources means Pratyaksha and Anumana. Fire is a remedy for ice. It is known. Indro vritraya vajram udayachan iti bhutarthavada. Bhutarthavada refers to known facts. Indra raised his Vajra weapon in order to kill Vritra. In fact, these examples are also textbook examples, standard examples. One can easily find them in Artha Sangraha, which is a summary or an introduction to Purva Mimamsa. Eshu Antyayohu Swarte Tatparyam Iva Prakrite Tad Asti Iti Na Kapi Kshatihi. Amongst these three, the last two, they don't indicate anything beyond relating the facts which are known. And there's nothing wrong with it. Evam anyatra api Shvetashvatara Upanishad Adav ityartha. So these kind of signs need to be searched out elsewhere also. Elsewhere in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, elsewhere in other scriptures. Okay.
So, Prabhu, among those, what is the Paribhasa Sutra? Where is it?
Sorry?
You know, in Bhagavatam we have the main verse, which is Eticham Shakala Pamsa Krishnas to Bhagavan Swaya. So which one of these six is this Paribhasa Sutra of Bhagavatam?
No. Sir, the 6 items, 6 signs for helping us ascertain the purport of a passage. These are applied by Jiva Goswami in Shat Sandarbha many times.
Mm.
A number of times he applies them to analyze particular portions, and Paramahansa Sundarbhajan he does it. In other places also he does it. All six are taken into consideration. Paribhasha Sutra, first of all, that's a grammatical expression. Paribhasha refers to a meta rule, a rule for a rule. When you have rule conflicts, what do you do? So there are some rules which tell you what to do when there are conflicts of rules. Those rules are called paribhashas. So Eti Chamshakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam functions like a paribhasha. That's all.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on. ननु फलवती अज्ञाते अर्थे शास्त्र तात्पर्यात् तादृशम् अद्वैतं तस्य गोचरः वैफल्यात् ज्ञातत्वात् च द्वैतं न तद् गोचरः किन्तु अनुद्यमानमेव तत् इति चेत् objection. The scriptural purpose, because the scriptures aim to teach, aim to provide information on that which will be useful and which is unknown through any other means of knowledge, such as pratyaksha and anumana. Advaita understanding or monistic understanding comes within that scope, whereas the conception of pluralism, Dvaita, that is useless. And it's also known from Pratyaksha Anumana. And therefore, that will not come under the scope of the factual import of the Vedic scriptures. So when it comes in the Vedic scriptures, it should be understood to be simply an ordinary repetition of facts which are gathered from Pratyaksha Anumana itself. So if this objection were being placed, then we reply, no, this is not the case. So here, the Tika says, Intu iti. Loka prasiddham shastrena anudyate adbhyaha va eshaha prata udeti apahasayam pravishati iti vadataha na tatra shastra viprayaha iti bhava. So the implication is, there are many facts which are well known to the world, which are repeated in the Vedic scriptures. For instance, the sun rises from the waters and sets back into the waters, rises from the waters early morning, sets back into the waters in the evening. Now, that the sun rises and sets, that is known. Now, you cannot say that the scriptures want to give are aiming to teach mankind some facts such as the sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening. That is known. You don't need to study the Vedic scriptures to understand that. That is known from Pratyaksha Anumana itself. So, Purva, because the aim of scripture is to teach something unknown and yielding great results. The meaning of this passage is non-difference of Jiva and the Lord. Difference is not the meaning, since that fact is already known and useless. Non-difference is the meaning of the statement. This is not so. Prathak Atmanam Preritaram Chamatva Jusham Statastena Mritattvameti Ityadina Shvetashvata Raihi Tatra Phalasya. Because it is found in Shvetashvata Upanishad itself that understanding the difference between the Lord, between Brahman, who is actually the impeller of the soul, as well as the soul, one attains immortality, and which is a very great successful result. The great result, phalam, of understanding difference is stated in Shvetashvata Upanishad 1.12. Understanding is difference of the Lord, favored by the Lord, the jiva then attains immortality. Prathaniti, Atmanam, Swam, Preritaram, Ishwaram cha, Pratham, Bhinnam Matva. Having understood the difference between oneself and his impeller, the Lord, as being distinct from each other. Jishan, bhajan, janaha. And when that person serves, worships that Lord, tataha tadanantaram, as a result of such worship, tena ishwarena hetuna, because of that Lord, amritatva moksha, he attains liberation. Tataha tat sambandhena vyapte iti kechit. Or else, another meaning of the word tataha here, tataha, is connected to him. He attains liberation. Some authorities interpret like this. Viruddha dharma avachinna pratiyodikataya loke tasya ajnatatvacha advaitam tu aphalam asvikara ajnatam cha shashashangava asatvat. Okay. There are further, he's also talking about other texts. Other texts like what? The Amritattva Ityadina. Okay. There are also other texts which provide the same logical understanding. For instance, Jushtam yada pasyatyanyam ishaviti grahiyate. The previous here itself. Jushtam yada pasyatyanyam ishaviti. When he sees another, the other one as the Ishvara, then he attains his glorious state and he becomes devoid of distress. So here is another instance that knowledge of the difference between Brahman and Jiva leads to a very great, tangible, successful result. Tatra dvaite halasyote. Okay, then.
So can we say that they say the Lord and the Jiva are only identical, and we say they are identical and different simultaneously? So there's the difference.
Oh, substantially they are different. Qualitatively they are one. That all the Vaishnava lines accept.
Yes.
But substantially they are different.
Mm.
In Kevaladvaita philosophy, substantially they are different. Substantially they cannot be different.
In Kevaladvaita.
I mean, sorry. Substantially they have to be accepted as being different. Okay, then Advaita, non-difference of the Lord and the Jiva, however, does not give any great results. Advaita cannot be known since it is not accepted by common sense because it is non-existent, like the horns of a rabbit. Anutva, vibhutva, niyamyatva, niyamakatva, adaya, mithaha, viruddhaha, ye dharmaha, daihi, avachinna, vishishto, pratiyogino, jiva, isho, yasya sa, viruddha dharma, viruddha dharma, avachinna, pratiyogi, jiveshiyor, bhedaha. Now, okay, here is a point. Understanding that the Lord and the Jiva are different because of different qualities is a unique result because people in general do not understand this. Why is it? Because the Jiva is infinitesimal and the Supreme Lord is infinite. The Jiva is niyamya, subject to control, and the Supreme Lord is the controller. So in this way, you have opposite qualities. You have several qualities like this, each of which are opposite to each other. In this way, we have two correlates, the Jiva and the Ishvara, but both of them have opposite qualities and yet they are related to each other. So now this fact that you have the Jiva and Ishvara which are eternally related to each other while having contradictory qualities, that cannot be known through Pratyaksha Anumana. One can understand through logic that the Atma exists. For instance, Udayanacharya belongs to the Nyaya group. Nyaya, he comes in the Nyaya group. That's not even from in the Vedanta group. And he has written that book Atma Tattva Viveka, which clearly establishes that there is an Atma which is distinct from the mind and the body. And in that way, he refuted Buddhism, which says that there is no Atma. According to Buddhism, there is no Atma. But Acharya has given very strong, powerful arguments to prove that there is an Atma that is reincarnating according to karma. And it is distinct from the mind and the body. And it opposes various Shunyavadi concepts, all of which try to prove that there is no Atma. And he has also written Nyaya Kusmanjali, in which he gives very powerful arguments to prove that the universe is actually created. There is a God, full of logical arguments. It proves that God does exist through logical arguments themselves. And in Vedanta Darshan, Ramanujacharya accepts that, okay, that much can be accepted, but the nature of the Supreme Law cannot be understood through Pratyaksha. Can maximum prove that the universe is controlled by the universe is controlled. This much can be proven. Now, whether that controller is one or there are a number of controllers who control through some humanly inconceivably well coordinated fashion to give the impression of there being a single controller, these things cannot be established through Pratyaksha and Anumana alone. Therefore, you need to take shelter of Shastra to understand the factual nature of the controller. So therefore, the argument of the Kevaladvaita that difference, knowledge of difference, or the idea that there is difference between Brahman and the Jiva is useless, because it is not within the unique scope of the scriptures, is proven to be a false argument. Okay, so therefore it should be accepted that the world does not know by itself about the factual difference between Brahman and the Jiva, for which you have to take shelter of Shastra. Dani chetant Advaita Bodhakani Vakyani Kvachit Vikshiyante Dani Tanmatra Ayatta Vrittikatva Tat Vyapyatva Adibhihi Shastrakrita Eva Sangamayishyante. Then there are a few statements in the scriptures which talk about the oneness of Brahman and Jiva. The author of this Shastra, the Vedanta Sutra himself, is going to reconcile all of those statements with the factual conclusion of difference, Veda, by pointing out that all the living entities are ever dependent on Brahman. All of them are activated by Brahman. All of them are pervaded by Brahman, and so on. To indicate all of these things, the language of non-difference is utilized in the scriptures. Nacha Advaitam Idrisham Bhavati Ityaha Advaitaha Tu Iti Nakhago Kevaladvaitinaha Mokshe Kinchit Phalam Atmani Swikuruvanti Tatsvikare Tasya Vaishishtyapattehe Tataha Cha Kaivalya Kshaktihi. Now, regarding Advaita philosophy, Kevala Advaita is the ones who promote Kevala Advaita philosophy. They don't accept that there is any benefit for their individual selves upon again liberation, because if they were to accept that their individual selves are specially benefited in any manner, then oneness is disturbed. The concept of oneness will be disturbed. Nacha Upanishad matra gamyatva advaitam agyatam iti shakyam vaktum brahmatmakasya tad gamyatve avachyatva pratigya bhanga. One cannot say that Advaita understanding is unknown to Pratyaksha and Anumana, because it can only be understood through the Upanishads. One cannot make this argument because the Jivatma being Brahman in reality, according to your group, you have declared that the nature of the Supreme Being cannot be expressed in any manner. Lakshana Vidayaha Vidayatvam tu Nasyam. For this, the Kevaladvaita has another counter argument. It says, yes, the nature of Brahman cannot be directly defined, but it can be indirectly indicated. So he's saying, the sub-commentator is saying, no, that will also not be of use. Sarva Shabda Avachye Tasya Ayogat. If Brahman cannot be expressed through any word, then certainly it cannot be indicated also through any words. Tasma Pushpa Adivat asatvat eva agyatam tat paryavasyati iti bhava. So actually it amounts to saying that the Advaitic understanding itself is unintelligible, because it is talking about something which doesn't exist, like the flower in the sky and so on. Just as the flower in the sky is simply a combination of words, it does not refer to any reality, because flowers don't grow in the sky like that. Nano Advayam bodhayanti iti Shruti Pratiyate tasyaha ka gatihi iti chet. Question. But the Shruti does express non-duality. That much is seen. What do you have to say about that? If you were to ask this question, tatraha yani iti, then in response to that, the commentator says that regarding those few statements that express non-duality, they have been harmonized by the author of this scripture to be referring to the fact that the Jivatmas are absolutely dependent on Brahman. They are activated only by that Brahman, and that they are pervaded by that Brahman, and so on. The idea is that when you have A and B, and B is exclusively dependent on A, B is active only because of A, and B is pervaded by A, then we, even in ordinary language, we equate A and B. This is a matter of common acceptance. Okay, we should stop with this. We'll resume right from this point naturally.
Thank you, Prabhu.
We takes up another